Respected Chairman, sir, seniors and dear friends, as Dr. Vijay Patni has set the stage right for these topics, and Ajay sir has emphasized again that more than pharmacological intervention, this is the lifestyle modification which is going to be precious. I'm going to talk on the prescribing exercise in type 2 diabetes mellitus. At the outset, I must admit that this topic I have been inspired by Dr. N.K. Singh's speech on demystifying diabetes, which he did in CCDSI. But my topic is slightly different. My topic is not going into the details of pathophysiology and all, but it is on the practicality of what exercise we should be giving, we should be prescribing to the patient. Intricacies we have discussed time and again, and there are topics available which have justified the role of exercise. But what exercise? Because in all the conferences, now we talk about lifestyle modification. We say you do exercise for 1 hour, but we don't specify what type of exercise they have to do. Physical activity includes all movement that increases energy use. That is very important. But exercise is a planned structural physical activity to achieve a certain goal. For achieving a metabolic goal, the adoption and maintenance of physical activity are critical foci for blood glucose management and overall health in individuals with diabetes and pre-diabetes. Recommendations and precautions vary depending on individual characteristics and health status, and one size doesn't fit all. This is the diabetic triad which all of us will agree to. We have to depend on these three pillars if we have to treat the diabetes well. Diet, exercise, medications, and monitoring glucose is the central theme. Friends, exercise is the best insulin sensitizer on the market. It is the best insulin sensitizer, better than any medication we currently have. I will directly come to the physiology during exercise. During the first few minutes of exercise, glycogen in the muscle is broken down anaerobically. First few minutes. After
Excuse me,
5
sir.
to 10 minutes,
Your
yes.
slides are not visible.
Visible, it is visible.
It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
visible?
Yeah, yeah. I'm good.
Then my
I'm
computer
seeing
has
it.
some.
It is clearly visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, visible.
Should I proceed, sir?
Yeah.
So during the first few minutes of exercise, glycogen in the muscle is broken down anaerobically. And after 5 to 10 minutes of activity, muscle glycogen breakdown decreases. Glucose is broken down in liver now, and it is released into bloodstream and then taken up by muscles as fuel. This glucose becomes the major source of fuel, which we know by the term hepatic glycogenolysis. And what happens after 20 minutes or more? The muscle's glycogen stores are now depleted. Blood glucose is now maintained by hepatic glycogenolysis and triglycerides that are broken down from the adipose tissue. As exercise continues, fat breaks down to free fatty acids and is used as a source of fuel for the muscle through the process of hepatic gluconeogenesis rather than hepatic glycogenolysis. So how it is graded? Before we know how it is graded, metabolic equivalent is the term which we should know. This is the amount of energy expended during exercise related to energy expenditure during rest. Energy expended exercise versus energy expended during rest. So it is energy expended during rest is considered one metabolic equivalent, which is equivalent to 3.5 ml of oxygen per kg per minute, which is equivalent to 1 kilocalorie per kg per hour. So we can classify physical activity intensity in MET, light exercise less than 3 MET, moderate 3 to 6 MET, vigorous above 6 MET. And how we do grading of exercise? I will come to the most popular and easily applicable method. Maximum heart rate is 220 minus age. Suppose my age is 60, then 220 minus 60 will be 160. 160 will be considered the maximum heart rate. And how will you calculate low intensity? 40 to 50% of maximum heart rate. That is 40 to 50% of 160. And in practical world, when we cannot count the heart rate and all, then how you can do it? One can talk and sing during exercise without getting breathless. If we are walking and we can easily talk with our colleagues and we can sing comfortably well, then this is of low intensity exercise. What is moderate intensity? Moderate intensity is 50 to 70% of maximum heart rate. And people can chat but can't sing comfortably. And high intensity will be where between 70 to 85% of maximum heart rate, and we can barely talk with each other. So the role of physical activity, we all know. I'm just going to summarize. Improves overall blood glucose control, glycosylated hemoglobin, and type 2 diabetes. Improves insulin sensitivity, lowers insulin requirement, often leading to reduced doses of insulin, or we can reduce the number of oral hypoglycemic agents. For the attainment and maintenance of ideal body weight, reduction of coronary risk factors, favorable changes in body composition, the body fat is decreased, weight is decreased, and there is increase in muscle mass, and there is reduction in the overall cardiovascular and mortality, cardiovascular and overall mortality. So basically, the types of exercise are aerobic exercise, resistance exercise. Other exercise which should be known to us is flexibility and balance exercise. This is the calories burned in 45 minutes. This is available in all textbooks over the net. I'm not going into details of it. Now, aerobic exercise are those exercises which where energy expenditure is possible through oxygen, like walking, cycling, jogging, and swimming. This is the moderate intensity exercise which can be funded by oxygen. Now, resistance exercise is the strength training, the exercise which happens with the body weights and weight machines, and sometimes by the body weight. The strength training, here the energy cannot be provided by the oxygen. That is why this is known as anaerobic exercise also. What are the benefits of this aerobic exercise? The increases mitochondrial density, insulin sensitivity, oxidative enzymes, improves compliance, reactivity of blood vessels, lung function, immune function, and cardiac output is improved, and there is substantial reduction of cardiovascular and overall mortality. In type 1 diabetes, cardiovascular fitness, lipid lowering is there, and in type 2 diabetes mellitus, there is overall reduction in glycosylated hemoglobin, triglyceride, blood pressure, and insulin resistance level. Now, what are the benefits of resistance exercise? Resistance exercise is more effective in improving number and function of GLUT4, the glucose transporter 4, which is very important in reducing the level of blood glucose, and blood glucose goes into the muscles. Now, muscle hypertrophy, improved strength, and better physical function. Better tolerability because it is intermittent in nature. Improves mental health and bone mineral density, and more effective in preventing and slowing sarcopenia. I will come back to the first point which I talked, that it is more effective in improving functions of GLUT4. And by in this regard, I want to emphasize that exercise decreases blood sugar level even out of this insulin action also. So extra insulin action, even if the insulin resistance is present, the glucose level can be decreased by the contraction-mediated glucose uptake. So that is a wonderful point to be noted, which is there with the aerobic exercise also and anaerobic or resistance exercise also. This is more prominent with resistance exercise. Flexibility exercise improve range of motion around the joints. Balance exercise benefits gait and prevent falls. Activities like Tai Chi and yoga combine flexibility, balance, and resistance activities. What is the recommendations for reduced sedentary time? All adults, and particularly those with type 2 diabetes, should decrease the amount of time spent in daily sedentary behavior. Friends, I want to emphasize at this point of time that ADA recommends that prolonged sitting should be interrupted with bouts of light activity every 30 minutes for blood glucose benefits, at least in adults with type 2 diabetes mellitus. So this is after the recommendation of exercise. Exercise which we are recommending, that is there. But 8 hours of sitting, like our bank colleagues do, like most of our colleagues also do, glued to the chair, that is very much harmful. So above two recommendations are additional to and not a replacement for increased structure exercise and incidental movement. Friends, pre-exercise assessment is very, very important. As I told at the outset, that one size doesn't fit all. You just can't say one exercise prescription for all. So we have to assess conditions that predispose to injury before prescribing an exercise regimen. Neuropathy, autonomic and peripheral. Retinopathy, coronary artery disease, a resting ECG and possibly exercise stress test must be done. Peripheral arterial disease. This pre-exercise assessment is very much important because we often come across cases where celebrities, even celebrities, are dying during exercise. You just remember the incidences of Puneet Rajkumar, Siddharth Shukla, or Brahmo Misra, TV and the mega stars of silver screen. So this is very important, how much exercise to do. Exercise should be done according to FIT principle, F-I-T-T. F for frequency, exercise 4 to 6 times a week. Intensity, 30 to 40 minutes of exercise at 50 to 60% of target heart rate. And type is that safe exercises are recommended. Time, morning is supposed to be the ideal time, though there are papers which are suggesting that we may have the muscular strength most in the afternoon, and afternoon exercise may be more helpful, but we are editing the data. Aerobic exercise, start by walking at comfortable pace for as little as 5 to 15 minutes at a time. Warm up and cool down are very much important. The major mistake one person does while doing exercise is neglecting warm up and cool down. It is always suggested that gradually progress over 12 weeks to 50 minutes per session, including warm up and cool down of brisk walking. Alternately, shorter exercise sessions in the course of the day should be done. 10 minutes 3 times a day after meals can also be useful. In this regard, I want to say that if a person doesn't have much of a time, he is a very busy person. If a person is very busy, then instead of doing 30 minutes, if he breaks into 10 minutes into 3 times, then it can be as beneficial to him. Resistance exercise, choose 6 to 8 exercises targeting the major muscle group, arms, chest, back, legs, and abdomen. In this regard, I will say that going for a specific muscle takes a lot of time, and doing those movements which involve a lot of muscles, the composite ones, they may be more helpful. Gradually increasing the resistance until you can perform only 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions for each exercise with 1 to 2 minutes of rest between the sets. When beginning resistance exercise, best to receive initial instruction and periodic supervision by qualified exercise specialists to maximize benefits and minimize risk of injury. Interval exercise training has come into being for its better benefits. This is exercise performed in intervals, alternating between high intensity, low intensity, and they can shorten total exercise duration, increase fitness gains, increase variety also. For example, try alternating between 3 minutes of faster walking, 3 minutes of slower walking. Now I will talk about this high intensity interval training. There is a lot of talk going on the reversal of diabetes. I also believe, as Dr. Ramchandra Sharma sir told, that reversal is not possible. Where it is not possible, but in certain cases, when the diabetics are less than 5 years of duration and the patient is highly motivated and there are no comorbidities and other things are present, favorable points are there, high intensity interval training is a good option. This is a form of interval training, a cardiovascular exercise strategy, in which there is alternate intense burst of high intensity exercise with medium intensity exercise for recovery. You do high intense burst of exercise for short time, and then you go not to the rest level, but to the medium intensity exercise. For example, alternate between 30 seconds at very high intensity and next 90 seconds at low intensity. The beautiful point is there is considerable increase in number and quality of the mitochondria, which are the powerhouse. So you get more conversion of ATP from the glucose, and you are powered to do more difficult works, more oxidative capacity of the muscle, and it slows down sarcopenia, that is the loss of muscles. Friends, we know that in type 2 diabetes mellitus, particularly, with age we all lose muscles, but with type 2 diabetes, we lose it more often and considerably more. And here, this high intensity interval training will slow down sarcopenia, more cardiovascular fitness, and more effective lowering of insulin resistance, resulting in better mental function and sharpness. So, ADA recommends that pre-exercise medical clearance is generally unnecessary for asymptomatic individual prior to beginning low or moderate intensity physical activity, not exceeding the demands of brisk walking or everyday living. For the uninitiated patient, we can safely advise to go for a walk or so. Most adults with diabetes should engage in 150-minute or more of moderate to vigorous intensity exercise weekly, spread over at least 3 days per week, with no more than 2 consecutive days without activity. That all of us know. Shorter duration of vigorous intensity exercise is as good. Either 150 minutes of moderate intensity or 75 minutes of this per day of this vigorous intensity is equivalent. 150 minutes is in a week or 75 minutes in a week. Children and adolescents with type 1 or type 2 diabetes should engage in 60 minutes per day or more of moderate or vigorous intensity aerobic activity, with vigorous muscle strengthening and bone strengthening activities included at least 3 days per week. Adults with diabetes should engage in 2 to 3 sessions per week of resistance exercise on non-consecutive days. Flexibility training and balance training are recommended 2 to 3 times a week for older adults with diabetes. Yoga, Tai Chi may be included based on individual preferences. Individuals with diabetes or pre-diabetes are encouraged to increase their total daily incidental physical activity to gain additional health benefits. Throughout the day along, one should remain active. If there is knock on the door, you rush, you open the door, you take the water yourself instead of taking help from someone. So remaining active is very important for the day. To gain more health benefits from physical activity program, participation in supervised program is recommended over non-supervised programs. In type 1 diabetes mellitus, the issue is more complicated. Insulin resistance here is not a major issue, and the glycemic control is very variable. More hypoglycemia, so you have to be more aware. Decrease insulin dose prior to exercise for the short sessions. In the long sessions, we have to monitor glucose monitoring, and frequent carbohydrate feed should be nearby. In the gestational diabetes, uh, regular physical activity should be done prior to or during pregnancy, and they should engage in 20 to 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. Vigorous exercise should be avoided because of the obvious reasons. So, creating a healthy carb strategy, eating small meals throughout the day, staying active throughout pregnancy, monitoring blood glucose levels, sharing details with consultant doctors, and taking advice. This is the walking program, not going into details. In peripheral and autonomic neuropathy, recommended is non-weight bearing activities, swimming, bicycling, chair and arm exercise. Contraindicated are treadmill, prolonged walking, jogging, and step exercise. In nephropathy, low to moderate intensity exercise is recommended. High intensity forms of exercise may precipitate kidney failure more. In diabetic retinopathy, low impact cardiovascular conditioning such as swimming, walking, low impact aerobics, stationary cycling, endurance exercise, and contraindicated are strenuous activity, pounding or jarring, such as weightlifting, jogging, high impact aerobics, and racket sports. Useful tips are a diabetic should carry an identification card, check feet before you walk, check good footwear, light clothing, drink a lot of water, and don't exercise during hot seasons. Hypoglycemia, despite so many issues, remains one of the major causes of death, where because of lack of 50 to 20 grams of carbohydrate, patient loses life. So we have to be aware of this. It will most likely occur if the patient is taking insulin or diabetic pill, skips a meal, exercise for a long time, exercises strenuously. If it occurs, what can be done? Patient must eat a snack before exercise or adjust the medication dose. Remember, patient should always carry a source of carbohydrate, preferably glucose, with him. Snacking to prevent hypoglycemia, I'm not going into details. And physical activity lowers blood glucose in type 2 diabetes mellitus. Muscle cells become more sensitive, keeps liver from producing too much glucose, builds more muscle. We lose weight and keep it off. And this is from one of the studies, response to 100 gram of glucose in mild type 2 diabetes after 15 months of training, how the glucose tolerance test has improved. The red one is before training, yellow one is after training. Now, diabetes mellitus may be a chronic disease, relentlessly progressive disease, but we have got celebrities with this. Thomas Alva Edison, Mario Puzo, Kamal Hassan, Sonal Kapoor, Nick Jonas, etc. Now, this is Billie Jean King, so many times Wimbledon and one of the tennis greats. Determination makes a champion. Wasim Akram says, I won't let diabetes pull me out. So, respected seniors, dear friends, it is the take-home message is all diabetics should be motivated and educated about planning out exercise because it will save from the complications, from the money, it will increase the life expectancy and load on the society. Exercise is unfortunately an invaluable drug. It is a $1 million drug which is seldom used. We should motivate people to accept exercise as a way of life since early school days. There was a brilliant talk by Dr. Patni on pre-diabetes. I will emphasize on the point that we should motivate our people from early childhood, from the early school days, to accept exercise and, of course, the dietary education also. And if we can achieve this, this may perhaps help us fight the tsunami of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Our SSDI can advise the government. We have great diabetologists like Ajay sir and Dr. Sudhir Bhandari sir, who can advise the government who can influence the RSSDI decision committee to make exercise an integral part of the school curriculum. I remember during our school days, we would have Scout and NCC curriculums. But unfortunately, these days, I'm seeing this is missing. They should be made integral part of the school curriculum, and we should spread the awareness if we want to lessen the socio-economic burden and remove our tag of diabetic capital of the world. Thank you.